So many of the men and women in this room, as an example, they pay tremendous amounts of taxes. And here are just a few examples of where your money was going before I came along. These are just some of the, just taken at random. Oh, there are much worse examples than this. I was just looking at them before the speech, and I can tell you they were much worse. And $21 million for voter turnout in India. What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India? Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Wow, we ought to tell the Indian government, because when we hear that Russia spent about $2 in our country, it was a big deal, right? They took some internet ads for $2,000. This is a total breakthrough. So many of the men and women in this room, as an example, they pay tremendous amounts of taxes. And here are just a few examples of where your money was going before I came along. These are just some of the, just taken at random. Oh, there are much worse examples than this. I was just looking at them before the speech, and I can tell you they were much worse. And there are some that are horrible, but I don't want to really say them because they're very, very embarrassing to people. Very, very embarrassing. And they're really something, but you'll be seeing it and you will be reading about it. But just some taken at random, $2 million for sex change operations in Guatemala, $20 million for Sesame Street performances in Iraq. $20 million, that's a lot of money. You know, I know what it costs to do those things. You get a cast over for $50,000, give them a couple of bucks tip, and that's it, not $20 million. $20 million, that's Gone with the Wind on steroids. $101 million for 29 diversity, equity, and inclusion contracts at the Department of Education. Wow. And we've canceled all of these, saved all of this money. And again, this is just a small sample. This could go on. I could read them all day. $520 million for a consultant. I want to know, who is that consultant? To do ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance investments in Africa. $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and illicit livelihoods by developing socially responsible behavior in Colombia. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that even means. None of this stuff, everyone's trying to figure out, what the hell does it all mean? $42 million for social and behavior changes in Uganda. 40 million's a lot of newspaper ads in Uganda. $70 million for research of evidence-based solutions for development challenges. $10 million for Mozambique medical male circumcision. What does that mean? $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive, participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India? Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Wow, we ought to tell the Indian government, because when we hear that Russia spent about $2 in our country, it was a big deal, right? They took some internet ads for $2,000. This is a total breakthrough. $21 million for India elections, $29 million to strengthen the political landscape in Bangladesh, $20 million for fiscal federalism, and $19 million in addition to the $21 million for biodiversity conversion in Nepal. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. We need voter confidence too when you read this list. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well. We don't need to give them money. And in another program, $50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. Do you know about that? $100 million for condoms. Condoms. Does everybody know what a condom is? For Hamas, $100 million. And these are just some. I could read this list all day long. I just don't want to bore you. But these are just some, and not nearly as bad as others. And some are just, I just don't want to say them because they're too incendiary. We're also finding tremendous abuse, waste, and fraud in Social Security. Social Security is, what's happening there is going to be one of the great potential scandals in history. On the program, there are over 4.7 million Social Security numbers from people from 100 years old to 109. Think of that. Now, over 100, there aren't a lot of people that make it. Hopefully, most of the people in this room will make it, but historically, you don't have thousands and thousands of people. But listen to this, 3.6 million people are on Social Security rolls from the age of 110 years old to 119. Do you think there are really that many? Those people are seriously old. But it gets worse. 3.47 million people are on Social Security from the age of 120 years old to 129 years old.